Hare Krishna. Hare. Jaya Nilo Prema Dhana Corona Prachur Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Chayataku Kaha Mora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanatan Kaha Dasa Raghunata Patita Pavan Kaha Mora Bhatta Juga Kaha Kaviraj Eka Kale Kota Gela Goranataraj Bhashane Kutibo Matha Annale Pashibo Gorangangunera Nidhi Kotangele Pamo Se Samba Sangira Sange Je Koilo Bilas Se Sangana Paya Kande Narotamada Jehanilo Premadana Corona Prachur Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Chayataku Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy. Where is such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Sarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against a rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. So today is the disappearance anniversary of Sri Saranga Thakur, and there's quite a bit about him here in the Samadhi's book. An important branch of the Sri Chaitanya tree, Sri Saranga Thakur, Saranga Murari, lived in Mamgachi, Modrumadweep in Navadweep. Staying under a bakula tree, Saranga Thakur worked hard every day to please his worshipable deity. Single-handedly, he would collect fruits, vegetables, and firewood. He would also bake rice, cook, bathe, dress, and feed the Lord. After a full day of deity service, Saranga would cross the Ganges River to join Mahaprabhu's Harinam Sankirtan party in Mayapur. During one visit, Lord Gauranga noticed that Saranga's beloved bakula tree was drying up and almost dead. Lord Chaitanya embraced the tree with his beautiful golden arms. Completely rejuvenated, the tree burst forth with green leaves and fresh, super fragrant flowers. To this day, devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worship this special Kalpa Vriksha tree of Sridham Mayapur. Some devotees collect small pieces of wood, which occasionally fall off, and make neck beads or worship it. Saranga Thakur vowed to never initiate disciples despite Lord Chaitanya's insistence. One day he relented and decided to initiate the first person he saw. While bathing in the Ganges, he brushed against a floating corpse. Suddenly it sprang to life. Stunned, the man slowly identified himself and bowed down to Saranga Thakur, who had just miraculously renewed his life. After giving him mantra diksha, Saranga Thakur became famous as Saranga Murari Thakur because the disciple's previous name was Murari. In Braj Leela, Saranga serves Radha Gopinath as Nandi Mukhi Sakhi. By taking a 45-minute rickshaw ride from downtown Navadweep, you can still see the deities of Saranga Thakur and the Kalpa Vriksha Bakula tree. Shri Saranga Thakur ki jai. Okay. And now we proceed to Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. Narayanam namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriyet. Okay. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta prayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavatyuttama shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Time out. Okay. So on this 28th day of November 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 7, The Science of God, Chapter 15, Instructions for Civilized Human Beings, text number 22. Asankalpaj Jayet Kamam Krodham Kama Vivarjanat Artanartekshaya Lobham Bhayam Tatvavamarsanat Asankalpajayet Kamam Krodham Kama Vivarjanat Artanartekshaya Lobham Bhayam Tatvavamarsanat Asankalpajayet Kamam Krodham kama vivarjanat. Arthanarthekshaya lobham. Bhayam tat bhavamarsanat. Asankalpajayet kamam. Krodham kama vivarjanat. Arthanarthekshaya lobham. Bhayam tat bhavamarsanat. Asankalpajayet kamam. Krodham kama vivarjanat. Arthanarthekshaya lobham. Bhayam tat bhavamarsanat. Asankalpajayet kamam. Krodham kama vivarjanat. Arthanarthekshaya lobham. Bhayam tat bhavamarsanat. Asankalpajayet kamam. Krodham kama vivarjanat. Arthanarthekshaya lobham. Bhayam tat bhavamarsanat. Ladies. Asankalpajayet kamam. Krodham kama vivarjanat. Arthanarthekshaya lobham. Bhayam tat bhavamarsanat. Anyone online?
Asankalpajayet kamam.
Asankalpajayet kamam.
Krodham kama vivarjanat.
Krodham kama vivarjanat.
Arthanarthekshaya lobham.
Arthanarthekshaya lobham.
Bhayam tatva vamarsanat.
Bhayam tat bhavamarsanat. Asankalpat. By determination. Jayet. One should conquer. Kamam. Lusty desire. Krodham. Anger. Kama vivarjanat. By giving up the objective of sense desire. Artha. Accumulation of wealth. Anartha. A cause of trouble. Ikshaya. By considering. Lobham. Greed. Bhayam. Fear. Tattva. The truth of Amarsanat. By considering. Translation. So this is still Narada speaking to Yudhishthira. By making plans with determination, one should give up lusty desires for sense gratification. Similarly, by giving up envy, one should conquer anger. By discussing the disadvantages of accumulating wealth, one should give up greed. And by discussing the truth, one should give up fear. Please repeat. By making plans with determination, one should give up lusty desires for sense gratification. Similarly, by giving up envy, one should conquer anger. By discussing the disadvantages of accumulating wealth, one should give up greed. And by discussing the truth, one should give up fear. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur has suggested how one can conquer lusty desires for sense gratification. One cannot give up thinking of women, for thinking in this way is natural. Even while walking on the street, one will see so many women. However, if one is determined not to live with a woman, even while seeing a woman, he will not become lusty. If one is determined not to have sex, he can automatically conquer lusty desires. The example given in this regard is that even if one is hungry, if on a particular day he is determined to observe fasting, he can naturally conquer the disturbances of hunger and thirst. If one is determined not to be envious of anyone, he can naturally conquer anger. Similarly, one can give up the desire to accumulate wealth simply by considering how difficult it is to protect the money in one's possession. If one keeps a large amount of cash with him, he is always anxious about keeping it properly. Thus, if one discusses the disadvantages of accumulating wealth, he can naturally give up business without difficulty. Om Jnanatimurandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara. So please forgive me if the class is a little scattered, because I learned about giving it about 10 minutes before the time. Anyway, so Narada Muni is still encouraging Yudhishthira to give up these things which are all impediments. They're impediments to devotional service. And what came to mind, as it often does, is some verses in the second chapter of the first canto. Because what he's talking about here is how one can attain vairagya. It all begins with raga. I mean, your frustrated desires are what gives you anger, isn't it? And seeing others enjoying and you're not enjoying, that's the origin of envy. So if you can attack the root, which is material desire, and turn that toward Krishna, then the detachment and the peace and the lack of envy come naturally. So I'd like to refer, which I made a bookmark here. And this is, I think, 127. Yes, 127. So let's see if we know this. Like, this is an easy one to chant. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahaitukam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Now, that detachment from the world means that you're no longer lusty and greedy, right? And you're also not angry because you're not envious of anyone. So the key is this Vasudeva, and I'll read the second paragraph here of Prabhupada's purport. The principles of knowledge and detachment, vairagya and jnana, are two important factors on the path of transcendental realization. The whole spiritual process leads to perfect knowledge and everything material and of everything material and spiritual. And the results of such perfect knowledge are that one becomes detached from material affection and becomes attached to spiritual activities. Now, as I mentioned before, but you may have forgotten, the word of affection, well, everyone knows what affection means, right? But Prabhupada used it in a different way, which is also in the dictionary. And that is not being affected by. You see? So that's what he means here. Detached from material affection. You're not affected so much by all the material pushings and pullings and all the influence. That's the idea. And becomes attached to spiritual activities. Becoming detached from material things does not mean becoming inert altogether, as men with a poor fund of knowledge think. Nice karma means not undertaking activities that will produce good or bad effects. Remember in the Bhagavad Gita, I think it's the 4th chapter, we should know what is karma, what is vikarma, and what is akarma. These three things, right? So karma, in this context, are those activities that are according to the Vedas, but are fruitive. You see? Karma. And vikarma are those activities which are certainly fruitive, but are against the rules of the Vedas. It's vikarma, which we're surrounded by. People don't know anything about the Vedas. That inevitably produce sin and so much more suffering. As Rishabdev says so memorably, Nunam pamatta kudate vikarma yadindriya pitayapanoti. Those who are certainly mad, they simply perform activities against the Vedas for indriya priti, which is exactly sense gratification. And he says they're completely mad because this is sure to produce a great deal of suffering. You get a little tickle of sense gratification proportionately and a whole lot of suffering. So is that a good investment? No. Very stupid. So, but nice karma means acting for Krishna with no good or bad effect. But the effect is that you get quickly vairagya and knowledge. Vairagya is supported by knowledge. You might have saying, well, I haven't had this in a long time, maybe I should do it. But no, your knowledge is, no. If you do that, then that's going to impede your devotional service. And who knows what the result will be. So I'm not going to do it. So, negation does not mean negation of the positive. Negation of the non-essential does not mean negation of the essential. Similarly, detachment from material form does not mean nullifying the positive form. The Bhakti cult, Prabhupada used that word innocently, it means culture. Bhakti cult is meant for realization of the positive form. When the positive form is realized, the negative forms are automatically eliminated. Therefore, with the development of the Bhakti cult, with the application of positive service to the positive form, one naturally becomes detached from inferior things and it becomes attached to superior things. So I won't read the whole section here. But all of this instruction, by determination. Let's go back to where we were. The verses. By making plans for determination, one should give up lusty desires for sense gratification. You see? By giving up envy, one should conquer anger. By discussing disadvantage of accumulating wealth, one should give up greed. And by discussing the truth, one should give up fear. Okay, those are all very good within the context of devotional service. But if you try to do them independently, in this environment, this modern Kali Yuga, there's no question of really getting any firm and lasting detachment from the object of the senses. Because you're going to hang out with somebody who has a great advantage of accumulating a lot of wealth. You know? You're not worried about it's secure in so many accounts, you know, and protected by this and that, you know. So especially in this age, you may discuss the disadvantage of accumulating wealth, but if that's your basis for detachment from accumulating wealth, it's very fragile. Just like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, in what is it, I always forget the numbers, but the second chapter, you're all aware of this verse. Vishayava nivartante, nirahara siddehinaha, rasavarjam rasopyasya, param drishva navartate. So here in this one verse, Krishna is giving, first of all, the fallacy of just on your own determination giving it up. You can give the vishayas up. You know, how many people are on diets today in the United States of America? Tens of millions, right? They say, I don't feel well. I'm not enjoying myself. I get sick too often. I'm too fat. So or they take Ozempic, right? That's the new miracle drug, you know, which has its own side effect. So they want to become thinner for material reasons. Okay, so that means I have to change my diet. I can't eat this, can't eat that. I have to do something, right? So they're determined. But that determination can also become weaker. How long is it going to last? You see? Because you're tempted by, just one ice cream cone isn't going to hurt me, you know, like that before, you know. So, or the same thing with alcohol. Alcohol, you know, that's a sense gratification, but it's obviously self-destructive. But what is that verse? Atakena payuktoyam papam charati purusha anichanna vivarshanaya baladi vinayojita. To the end of the third chapter, we've heard about this. That what is it that forces one to perform some activities that he may know is bad for him, as if by force. Balad even the yojita. I'm forced to take another drink, you know. Yeah. So this is a serious addiction. There's all kinds of addictions people have like that. So obviously what happens is that the senses become overwhelm the intelligence. You know it's bad to eat this, drink this, hang out with these people, whatever it is, but you don't have the positive form. You don't have the alternative. And so your determination, whereas it might be strong to begin with, can easily become eroded. And you fall off the wagon, you know, whatever that wagon may be. And then down you go. So, but the practical principle involves determination, but that one determination to be serious in bhakti, to chant Hare Krishna, to get up early, to follow the four regulative principles. Why? Because you've come into the association of devotees, and you've met the advanced devotee, in most advanced, Srila Prabhupada. Okay, you can meet him through his books in so many ways, but your faith in the process and in yourself being able to follow the process. because you see others like you who came from similar backgrounds and were able to do it. So getting determined to practice chanting the holy name and doing all the things that we do, which, as we know, are meant to bring us to the point of remembering Krishna all the time. In other words, they're meant to increase our attraction for Krishna in so many different ways, and everything related to Krishna, beginning with his devotees and the prasadam, and of course the deities and the holy name and everything. That attraction will negate all of these other things. You'll be able to appreciate the wonder of devotee association and appreciate devotees, rather than be envious. Oh, he distributed more books than me. Let me see if I'll put a slice in his book bag so it'll relate to him. I mean, that could happen. I mean, Vijay told the story of one guy in an airport behind the book distributor telling him, don't buy a book, so he would get a bigger score. That's Maya, that's evil. But you can see, why does that happen? Because, there was a flaw in the sadhana. He wasn't, So the process of devotional service, as described in that verse I read, that's just like the second verse in the series. The first verse is about how dharma is so important. And what is the result of it? Pleasure. The whole idea is, how can the soul become fully blissful? Savai pongsang paro dharmo yato bhaktar hokchade ahaitukya patiyatma suprasidati. Not just prasidati, but suprasidati. Very first verse. That dharma which leads to, which generates, janayati, pure love, pure devotion to Krishna. And what's the qualification? Completely unmotivated. Means there's no material motivation. There is, of course, a motivation. What is that motivation? To please Krishna. Just like a mother, to please her child will pamper him so much, and a little baby, And if the child doesn't cry, looks at the mother and gives a little smile, maybe toothless smile, the mother's day is made. What does she get out of it? She got the pleasure of the child. So that's the purest form in this world. And of course, eventually, by time, it weakens. The child goes away, whatever. But that's an example. So that's really the coin of the realm. The more that you can find your pleasure in pleasing Krishna, and even more his devotees, he's more pleased with that. If you're taking care of his devotees and you're feeding and you're doing everything and appreciating their company, then Krishna becomes very pleased. And what happens when devotees get together? They glorify Krishna. Paraspadano katadam bhavanam bhagavadyasha mitodatir mitastustir mitur nivrita abhata, something like that. I forget the last line. So devotees get together. Krishna mentions this in the Gita. Bodhiyantak paraspadam. This is what we're doing here. That's right. Society for Krishna consciousness. Bhagavad says. So paraspadano katadam. Mutually, they're sharing katha about Krishna. Bhavanam bhagavadyasha. The purifying glories of Hari, Bhagavad-yasha, Bhagavan. And what's the result? Mitoratir, they become friends with each other. They become attracted to each other as devotees. You see, appreciating the company of devotees. It's so important. Sadhu Sangha. Mitoratir, mitostushtir, mutual satisfaction, from glorifying Krishna, and also developing their detachment, vairagya. So this is what we're meant to do. And what's the pinnacle of that association and that hearing and chanting? Sankirtan of the holy name. It all is resting on there. I chant, you hear, you chant, I hear, and the you can be 100 people, can be 1,000 people, it can be 5 people, And in this way, we're immersing ourselves in the holy name and at the same time building wonderful devotee relationships, appreciating. And which is very important because we also rely on each other for spiritual sustenance, for supporting our path. Because everyone brings his own baggage, so many different addictions, memories, traumas that you're trying to get over, And we need each other. That's why in Nectar of Instruction, every one of those verses is important. There's only 11 of them, but they're key because it's the essence of the instruction. So dadati pratigrinati guhyamakyati prichati bhunkte bhoja yatecheva shadvidam priti lakshanam. So giving gifts, accepting gifts, revealing one's mind and hearing others reveal their mind, And of course, sharing prasadam, giving prasadam, you know. And as described elsewhere, you know, getting together and like I always love to hear, oh, the morning reading is going to take place up in that, you know, upstairs. That means you're going to read Prabhupada's books and discuss them. You know, this is what Prabhupada wanted, and in that way, all of these things can be attained by making plans with determination. By making plans with determination to practice Krishna consciousness, you know, one can give up the lusty desires for sense gratification because you're experiencing the higher taste. If you see, you know this famous verse, one can, with determination, give up the objects of the senses which we know they're not. You're not consuming them, you see, and they're turning away from you. That's what that actually means. So, you know, this has happened a million times. And people can keep their discipline for who knows how long, you know, and it's benefiting them. But the taste for it remains. That's the problem. You still have that hankering for the ice cream, for the beer, for the drugs, whatever it may be. You don't, that's not cured. That's deep in your heart, you know. And so, but by seeing, experiencing, directly tasting the param, in this case it's Krishna. It's everything related to Krishna. Krishna Leela, the prasadam, the kirtan, the devotees, everything. Of course, everything. One does not return. In other words, you really expunge that deep-seated desire for sense gratification, which is keeping us coming back for millions of births. Now, there's another verse I'd like to share with you. And this one you've heard me quote before. They keep coming up again and again. And this refers to, this is Krishna's instruction, I think it's part of the Uddhava Gita, 11th canto, 26th chapter. And he's told this story of Pururava, who became attached to Urvashi, who was one of these heavenly damsels sent down by Indra. And so he became completely obsessed with her. But she wanted to go back to the heavenly planets. And so she said, all right, because they would have, you know, they would have sex relations, you know. And he said, well, look, here's the deal. There were these pet calves, I think they were. And if the only time I want to see you naked is when we're going to have sex. This is Urvashi, you know. If there's any other time, then it's over. You know, says, oh, no problem, no problem. So it was, I forget how it happened, because she wanted to go back to the heavenly planets, and he arranged to have her two calves wander off or get taken away at night, middle of the night. So he woke up, you know, she says, where's my calves, you know? And he saw them wandering. He went over and got them, brought the calves back. He's totally naked. He said, that's it, I'm out of here. She went back to the heavenly planets, and he was so bereft. All he could think about is Urvashi, you know. Oh my God, you know. So she made a deal. Okay, a couple of nights a year, you know, could come up here, like. But he was obsessed. Then, just a few verses before this, there's Pururava's song of renunciation. You know, is this whole thing. Yeah, and this is Pururava saying. I'll just give you the last few verses of his song. What difference is there between ordinary worms and persons who try to enjoy this material body composed of skin, flesh, blood, muscle, fat, marrow, bone, stool, urine, and pus? You know, you can see he's got a very. Yet even one who theoretically understands the actual nature of the body should never associate with women or with men attached to women. After all, the contact of the senses with their objects inevitably agitates the mind. And he's causing, you know, materialistic women here he's talking about. Because the mind is not disturbed by that which is neither seen nor heard, the mind of a person who restricts the material senses will automatically be checked in its material activities and become pacified. Therefore, one should never let his senses associate freely with women or with men attached to women. Even those who are highly learned cannot trust the six enemies of the mind. What to speak then of foolish persons like me? So that's the end of his song. And then Krishna says to him at that time, oh no, he's speaking to Uddhava and describing what happened with Pururava. Having thus chanted this song, King Pururava, eminent among the demigods and human beings, gave up the position he had achieved in the planet of Urvashi. His illusion cleansed away by transcendental knowledge, he understood me to be the supreme soul within his heart, and so at last achieved peace. And then the next verse is very famous because it talks about approaching a guru. Tato duk sangam utsrija satsu sajjeta buddhiman santa eva shichindanti mano vyasangam uktibihi. Therefore, an intelligent person should reject all bad association and instead take up the association of saintly devotees, whose words cut off the excessive attachment of one's mind. So this word mano vyasangam, now asanga means, of course, attachment, and V is an intensifier, as karma and vikarma, right? So vyasanga means very intense attachment, which are in the mind. It's all over the line. It said chindanti, with his words. So the genuine spiritual master, and Krishna showed this, at the beginning of the Gita, right? Where he finally speaks to Arjuna as a guru. He says, Ashochan abashocastram pragya bharam shabachate gatasun gatasum nanusam shati panditaha. You're speaking learned words like a pundit, but you're no pundit. You're lamenting for what's not worthy of grief, the body, So this is the mercy of the genuine spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada certainly did that. So, but with the words of wisdom, it can cut off the attachment. In other words, this is an essential part of our path, because we may understand theoretically, why meat eating and intoxication are so bad for us. But because we grew up, say, in this society, those attachments are still there. We've had so many experiences. So we need the words, and we need the discipline. We need the daily, and progressive process by which we can taste more and more the beauty of the Lord, the attraction of the holy name, and all the things in Krishna consciousness which prevent us from being affected by these other things. Until finally, you can come to the point, the famous verses of Yamunacharya. He had all opportunity. He was a king. The kings have all opportunity for sense gratification. And they can, get all this money and all the greed and the lust, and they're examples of it. Not the Rajarshis, but just the Rajas. So he had that opportunity. Now he was still a saintly person, so he wasn't going overboard. But still, he indulged. And so, because then he has this verse, when he became Yamunacharya, Yadabadi Mamachetak, Krishna Paradavinde, Nama Nama Nasadhama Nuditam Rantamasi. Tadabadi Nadi, Sangame Smaryamani, Bhavati Mukhavikara Sushtanishtivanansa. Ever since, now here's the key, ever since I've been tasting at every moment the nectar of serving Nandanandana's lotus feet, right? Yadavadi Mamacheta Krishna Padaravinde Nava Nava Rasadhama Nuditam Rantamasi. Nava Nava, it's ever fresh, it never becomes old. Since that time, he's been situated back in his devotional mood. Whenever I happen to think of all those days I spent in the kingly atmosphere, enjoying illicit sex, the harem, the whole thing, he says, it's not like, I have to run for that again, or this is bothering me. He's not attached anymore. He's just disgusted by the whole thing. Just like, how long does it take to be being a Hare Krishna and be a vegetarian before, if someone is, somehow you remember all the hamburgers you had and everything. Say, oh God, how could I do that? It's not like, maybe, that. No, there's no attraction anymore. It's completely abhorrent to you. So that can be there for all the different temptations we once indulged in. And that's a very healthy state, you see, because you know that you're making advancement when there's not even any temptation for sense gratification anymore. There's simply an enthusiasm for devotional service of all different kinds, varieties, and you're very interested in deepening your attraction for Krishna, relation for Krishna, and your bonds between the devotees. So that's what I'm getting from this portion of the Bhagavatam. It's very good, the determination. But the main thing with the determination is determined to be a devotee, to be a strict devotee. Every one of us, except maybe Ramapati, but we were born in a devotee family, and maybe, I don't know, Prema Priya, is that had to go through that point of making the determination to actually become a serious devotee. And it's not easy, sometimes, because you may have a household situation, or you had gone 2 years in college, and your parents had put in so much money and sacrifice, and now you want to quit, What is this thing, you know? I'm going to send the deprogrammers. This is what they were doing in the 70s, you know. You must be crazy. Cult, this cult, you know. It's right here, the Bhakti cult. I'm not going to change that word, probably use it, but but the point is it's difficult to come to that determination because we're so conditioned. But having the good fortune to associate with the devotee, of course, you know, in those days when you can associate with Prabhupada, that's why the movement grew so far. He had the power to attract practically anyone. But even so, we hear from Narantara, you know, how he had to go through in becoming a devotee and being determined. But that determination is the key to our salvation, and to maintain the determination. And that's why it's so important to avoid the offenses. Because really the danger is in the offenses, especially if you're offending devotees, you know, directly, is that you lose your ability and your even your ability or your taste for associating with devotees. You can't stay, because you're very uncomfortable, you know, because it's known that you did this and it was very bad. Unless you make a tone, you know, with quotes around it, meaning that you pray for your forgiveness like that. I remember once in Miami, one devotee had offended another devotee, and he asked how he you know, what he could do. And I don't know if the devotee was present. That's one of the things, you know, the devotee could be far away by then. He says, "Oh, just chant more and more." He was allowed to, you know, to spend his whole day chanting, 64 rounds or whatever it was, to somehow get over it. And he did. He was able to. This is an incident that's not so famous because it's kind of gruesome. But this happened. Jayapataka Maharaj, you know, and he was an empowered preacher. You know, he would travel all over the world all the time, as you know, in the 80s, 90s, and you know this story very well. He was in an airport, and there was this crazy so-called devotee who, for some reason, he wanted to kill him, and he got behind and he cut his throat. You know. Now, because of his thick neck, you know, that doctor said he didn't actually cut the big veins, you know, that he would die. But he was bleeding like anything. So this devotee who had performed this offense before, he happened to be there, and the guy was running down the airport, and he ran after him. You know, he ran after him, caught up with him, and he knew karate, you know. And he subdued him, and he captured him for the police. So he had you know, he had become very determined, and eventually he went to Vrindavan, and he learned. He had been studying Sanskrit, but he learned more seriously the Sanskrit language, you know, and he participated. Very nice. I forget his name right now. He was from South America. So the point is that we should avoid offenses because it can ruin our lives. And by making it impossible for us to associate with devotees and feel comfortable, and not only comfortable, but attracted to be in the kirtan and all those different things, which is really our life and soul. So that's what I'm getting out of this. This is good advice, certainly, but the undergirding of it all is that determination has to include determination to practice devotional service with great seriousness, because then everything will flow from there. The disappearance of envy and anger and fear and lusty desires and greed can go. Of course, greed is good. I think did I share you with this? Of course, everyone knows Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati Kriyatam Yadikatopi Labhyate Tatta Lauryam Apimuryam Ekalam Janmakoti Sukatayana Labhyate. Now, I don't know if you know that the first line of this verse is the source of the words Krishna consciousness. That's what Prabhupada made, Krishna consciousness. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati, the mind absorbed in Krishna Bhakti Rasa, Bhava. That you should buy if you can find, you know, anywhere to buy it. You buy it, you see. But the price is your greed for it, your ardent desire for it. So we need to cultivate that desire as much as possible, so that we're mad after increasing our bhakti for Krishna. You know, that is our primary goal in life, personal goal. And That's where determination, if you're determined to do that, then all of these other things will follow easily. Any questions, comments, objections? Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Vijay Krishna, did he chant?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This is
Gorkesh,
God.
were you there?
Yes, and Anand Priya is also with me. Guru.
Hare
Oh,
Krishna Prabhuji.
Hari Bol. Nice to hear
Nice,
you.
nice class.
This is not mundane. I'm really concerned. How's the weather up there? There was an atmosphere. I mean,
Now it's okay. Like, still gloomy and raining, 33 degree.
but it's survivable.
But yeah, but no storm now.
Okay. And the kids are doing okay?
Now they are okay, Prabhu.
Okay. Good. I'm glad.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you for joining. Do you have
Hare Krishna.
a question or a comment? I didn't bring my flute.
I also have a question. How to become more responsible so that we can be determined?
How to become more responsible? What is it? Oh, responsible
Yeah.
to be determined? It's
Or
more
maybe
like
just how to take more responsibility and become more responsible and be ready to take any failures, if they come in our whatever decision we make.
well, it's like, you used to hear it was almost like a joke, but it's really true. You have to be determined to be determined, right? You have to, the way is always, it has something to do with association and hearing about those and associated with those who are determined, who you can feel, oh, they have a quality that I want. And by associating and sharing with them and listening and serving, then you can become more determined. I mean, that's really how things go on in ISKCON. Prabhupada was ready to give of himself so openly, And after a year, really, he found some serious recipients, serious devotees who were ready to hear him. And they were, because of Prabhupada's, the quality of his person, he was able to attract qualified people. Rupa Nuga and Satsrup Maharaj, as before they joined, they all had responsible positions as members of, I think, working with the social welfare organization, Satsrup, and Rupa Nuga, I think, was the teacher. And he became a teacher of a Bhakti course in the University of Buffalo, which is incredible. You know who came from that course? A whole list of leaders. Many are still with us. Bhagavan, later became, Romapad Swami came, Lakshmi Moni came, Satyanarayana came, Kushakrata came, and Gunagrahi Swami came from there. Huh? Burijan Prabhu, yes. So the answer is that one has, really the answer is prayer. Because when we chant Hare Krishna, it's supposed to be done prayerfully. Prabhupada said, this is a prayer, O Krishna, O Radharani, please engage me in your service. So if we really chant prayerfully and very attentively, then these determination will come, sense of responsibility will come, all of these things that we're looking for will come. Like one of my favorite prayers, like Queen Kunti prays, Tvayame ananya vishaya matir madhupate asakrit ratamund vahatara dha gange bhaugamadhanvati. O Madhu's Lord, she says Madhupati. O Madhu's Lord, please ever fill my mind with thoughts of thee, not any other kind. As Ganges torrent flows into the sea, let all my love flow constantly to thee. So you offer that prayer 3 times a day, once in the morning, once at noon, once in the evening, to your deities. I've seen your deities. You have many different deities. Hope they're comfortably set up there. and you'll see. That'll help. And if it doesn't work, come back again. We'll give you more instruction.
Thank you, Prabhuji. How does the verse start, Prabhu? What are the first few words of that?
Of that verse I just chanted?
Kunti prayers, yeah.
Tvai me. Tvayyi space me. Tvai me. It's near the end of her prayers. 1 or 2 or 3 before the end.
Thank you.
In chapter 8 of the first canto. One of my all-time favorites. Okay, there was your poem. But that's all I have to give you.
Hare Krishna.
Ah, Vijay Krishna. Okay, make it quick because it's getting late, okay?
Yes, I just need to know the difference between being materially greedy and spiritually greedy.
Well, materially greedy means that you're never satisfied with the material wealth that you have. You know, Hiranyakashipu, he was greedy. He owned everything, but he still wanted more, right? His whole name, more gold, you know, more soft beds in the bed companion, you know. So greed means an uncontrollable desire, means an increasing desire. You can never have enough, right? You never have enough. Just like our multi-billionaires, you know, they figure out how they can support the campaign of the president so that they get more money. And sure enough, and the day that, I'm not going to mention his name, you know who I mean, was elected, these guys became billions. Their stocks went way up, and suddenly they were worth $6 billion, $8 billion more. It's obscene. So that's material greed. I can have more, so I can control more, I can enjoy more. It's never enough. But spiritual greed means that you're never satiated. This word is satiated with the hearing the holy name, glorifying, preaching, all the activities of devotional service. And what did we see with the 6 Goswamis? They're perfect examples. They gave up the material attachments. They had, you know, Rupa Goswami had a whole boat full of gold. You know how much that's worth? Billions today. Solid gold. But he divided it. You know, he gave a half to Brahmins and Vaishnavas, a quarter to his relatives, because Prabhupada said memorably they expect something, which means they can cause a lot of trouble if they don't get anything. And the rest of it, which is a lot, he reserved it. And this always got a responsible grocer. And, you know, here's $10 billion. Can you hold it you know, carefully? Anyway, it was used to get spring Sanatana Goswami out of jail, so it was put to good use. But what were they after? They gave up all of that. They were after, you know, Bhakti Rasa. There was Tyaktvato Namashesha Bandadapati Shening Sadat Tuchavat. So they were surrounded by aristocracy and money and influence and everything. And they gave it up as Tuchavat, insignificant. Bhutva Dina Ganesha Kal, they became friends of the most fallen and wretched. Dina Ganesha, and took on these rejected little kopins and things. You know, you find some piece of cloth and somehow you stitch it together. You know, and they walk. They don't even have a home. They live under a different tree every night. They were as renounced as you could possibly imagine. They would beg a little something from different places. You know, Raghunath Das wouldn't even do that. But they were the richest in the universe. Gopi Bhava Samratab Hari Kallo Magno Mahur. Again and again they're diving into this nectar ocean of the Bhakti Rasa of the gopis for Krishna, which is the ultimate goal. So what more do they need? If you're experiencing a flood of transcendental pleasure at every moment, you know, what more you got to look for? You know, you just want to make sure that nothing obscures it, so you minimize your material things. So that's where you get your determination. And your, you know, responsibility is by cultivating devotional service and you know, chanting and hearing in such a way that you get more and more taste, you know, with more and more attention and devotion. And I'm sure you can do it, Keshav, because you're a responsible devotee. Vijay Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Dravida Prabhu.
All right. I guess I answered both of them. I'm sorry. I'm spaced out.
Well, I would like to know a follow-up question very quickly. The TOVP.
Okay. Well, let me do what Mukunda does. Okay. The class is adjourned. Anyone can leave. You can do what you need. But I'll still answer your question. Go ahead.
The TOVP, is it not an example of material greed?
No, it's an example of transcendental spiritual greed.
Why? Because
it's all for Krishna. It's all for the glories
yes.
of Lord Nrsingadev and Lord Nityananda. It's not. Nobody is getting richer by the TOVP. They're getting so many donations, but they're opening new wings. You know, you should try to look at some of those videos of the Nrsingadev wing. It's breathtaking.
Yes,
know?
I have been looking at.
Yeah, you
the
see,
videos,
so you know.
Yes.
No, that's bona fide. That's completely transcendental. To spend millions, tens of millions of dollars in glorifying the Lord and glorifying His devotees like that. So that's the proper
No,
use.
I asked because, generally speaking, Hare Krishna monks are expected to live in huts.
I'm sorry, say again? Hell, can you take it outside, Mataji? I'm sorry, Mataji, because he's still asking the question. Yeah.
Generally speaking, Hare Krishna monks are expected to live under trees or in huts.
Very simply, yeah.
So why is it that they're constructing the TOVP?
Because it's a temple. The thing that the opulence is all for Krishna. It's not that the
Of
devotees are
course.
going to have this different suites and soft bedding and all this stuff and private showers. No, there'll be an ashram like there always is. It's simple, but well appointed so that you can meet your basic needs. I'm sure that it's no growth of some unsuitable ashram situations. I mean, it's
Of course.
yeah. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, you've been there, right, to Mayapur or not?
Yes, many times, but I didn't. When I was there, the TOVP was not yet in construction.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, the money is being spent very responsibly, and is producing the most incredible temple in the world. I mean, I had no idea that Swaha. I knew her in Miami, when Amarish was there, before the whole idea of TOP was there. This was in 83, 84. And she was a very beautiful wife and very wonderful, intelligent, but I had no idea she had such abilities for design, But a lot of it is really gorgeous. The floor, everything is just wonderful. So people's skills are being dovetailed, and it's all for the glorification of Lord Chaitanya and the Radha Krishna and the 8 gopis and everyone else, So I wouldn't worry about that. I would just try to visit if possible and relish.
Yes, I'll try.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Glory to Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.
Haribol.